She's a one of ones, but is there like a comparison of somebody that you played with that you guys watching the game right now that reminds you of the young lady to your right?
I like Peyton Pritchard from Boston, the way he's able to handle the basketball. He makes big shots when the shot clock's running down, a lot like this young lady right here. Isn't afraid of the big moment and is a champion like she's soon to be.
What about you, Mel?
Now, Caitlin Clark made an expression with her face when he said that, and let's look at her face.
Reggie Miller generated significant attention following remarks made about Caitlin Clark during their NBC broadcasting premiere. Clark participated as a television analyst for the matchup against the Knicks at Madison Square Garden. Miller unexpectedly became the focal point by drawing parallels between Clark and a mid-tier professional basketball player. Numerous individuals and public personalities have shared perspectives on these statements. Whether Miller deliberately intended this comparison remains unclear. His assessment reflected spontaneous thoughts during live coverage. Working during unscripted broadcasts requires rapid thinking and adaptation to circumstances. Nevertheless, examining the actual footage reveals considerable interest.
When he said that, and let's look at her face. When have we seen Caitlin Clark ever look like this? I mean, this is a look of, damn, I cannot believe he just said that about me. Now, like I stated, this right here has made national news across the country. Many reporters are talking about it. Let me read this caption right here. It stated, Caitlin Clark made her NBC debut last night for Sunday Night Basketball, and Reggie Miller was asked.
The exchange occurred on social media platform X. The broadcaster asked Miller whether anyone from his playing days resembled the analyst sitting beside him. Miller responded by naming Peyton Pritchard from Boston. He highlighted Pritchard's ball-handling capabilities and clutch shooting performance when possessions wind down. Miller characterized these qualities as matching Clark's fearlessness during critical situations and her championship pedigree soon to be established. Another commentator named Mel was asked the same question. Clark's facial reaction during Miller's response became noteworthy. Her expression conveyed apparent surprise at the comparison being drawn.
Sunday Night Basketball, and Reggie Miller was asked to give his best NBA player comparison. Now, that's why I say he was working on a spur of the moment type deal. They said for him to compare her to a player that's playing right now. I believe the gentleman he compared her to, Peyton Pritchard, plays for Boston, and Caitlin was definitely not happy about that. Me personally, I feel like Caitlin Clark should be compared to
Observers noted this represented an unusual visible response from Clark during public appearances. The moment suggested genuine shock at hearing herself likened to this particular player. This exchange subsequently became widespread news throughout media outlets nationwide. Multiple journalists and commentators addressed the incident. Coverage described Clark's NBC participation for Sunday Night Basketball programming and Miller being requested to provide his optimal professional comparison. The circumstances created a spontaneous moment requiring immediate response. Pritchard currently plays for Boston in the NBA. Clark appeared visibly dissatisfied with this characterization.
Steph Curry, hands down, Stephen Curry, like night and day, like you wake up, you see Steph game in her game. This shouldn't even be up for debate. I don't know why he said Peyton Pritchard. Hopefully I'm saying the young man's name right. But Dave Portnoy weighed in on the conversation. He said, I love Peyton Pritchard, but this may be the worst comparison ever. It's Magic or Steph.
Many observers believe Clark deserves comparison to Stephen Curry instead, considering the similarities undeniably obvious between their playing approaches. The parallel seems so apparent it raises questions why Miller selected Pritchard. Commentator Dave Portnoy contributed his assessment, expressing affection for Pritchard while calling this possibly the worst comparison imaginable. He suggested Magic Johnson or Curry, potentially even Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, as more appropriate parallels. Former player Paul Pierce addressed the situation during his podcast broadcast. He evaluated Miller's comparison to Pritchard extensively. Pierce noted Clark's facial expression during the exchange, though considered whether nervousness from her first broadcasting experience contributed to her reaction. His co-hosts debated the comparison's validity at length.
It's Magic or Steph. maybe a worse SGA. Wow. Now, one NBA player has opened up about this entire situation on his podcast, and that is Paul Pierce. He definitely weighed in on the Reggie Miller, comparing her to Peyton Pritchard.
This is an embarrassment.
Look at her face, dog.
This
Maybe she's just awkward. It's her first time doing like media on TV. She's doing the media, holding the mic.
One participant immediately identified Curry as the obvious comparison. This assessment came before reviewing footage, reflecting how naturally the Curry parallel comes to mind when considering Clark's style. Observing Clark's approach to basketball makes avoiding the Curry comparison extremely difficult. The similarities appear unmistakable. Both execute extremely deep three-pointers from beyond typical range. Their mental processing and shooting mechanics operate at exceptional levels. The discussion participants debated whether the comparison should emphasize skill set versus overall impact. One voice argued that skill sets alone justified the Pritchard comparison.
On TV, she's doing the media, holding the mic.
Peyton Pritchard?
Go ahead, P. Let P keep saying his piece.
like she had the look of like, bro. Dog. I was thinking more Steph Curry.
Everybody thinks that because of impact. We're talking about skill set though, just skill set alone.
He instantly says Steph Curry, and like that's way before we even played this clip. That's exactly what I said.
However, others countered that defensive attention represents part of skill evaluation. Teams respond to Clark differently than Pritchard because her abilities force unique defensive strategies. Opponents employ face guarding, full court pressure, and constant double teams against Clark, similar to their approach with Curry. During international competition at the Olympics, teams deployed full-court denial defense against her. Debate participants disagreed about whether teams employ similar defensive tactics against Pritchard. One insisted that Pritchard's deep three-point shooting alone doesn't generate comparable defensive attention. The conversation grew heated with multiple voices talking over each other. Eventually, one participant clarified they believed the skill sets showed similarity as Miller suggested, though acknowledging Clark's impact mirrors Curry's influence.
Is that when you look at the style of play Caitlin Clark has, it's very similar to Steph Curry. And it's hard, very, very hard not to see that. I mean, it's clear as day. Logo threes, backdoor threes, you can call it whatever you want. When it comes to her cerebral, her brain, and the way she shoots the basketball is next level, bro. It's just next level.
Both qualify as excellent guards with shooting ability and craftiness. However, others maintained Pritchard lacks the same profile or scoring responsibility. The discussion emphasized Clark's gravitational pull on defenses, matching Curry's effect within the WNBA context. Footage then showed Clark discussing the collective bargaining.
But let's listen to
her skill set and her magnetic pull.
That's an impact.
Yeah, but that's part of her game, though.
Just skill set, because her impact. But then, like,
but her skill set is what makes defenses react to her that way, though. Danny, no. What defenses don't react to Peyton Pritchard like that.
They're not doubling him everywhere, face guarding, denying him like they do her, like they do Steph.
Are they doing that to her?
Did you see her?
Whether the meeting would produce a completed contract remained uncertain. The situation causes most harm to supporters who have embraced the league after years of minimal attention. Many fans faced criticism and accusations of bullying behavior online despite their dedication. Hopes remain that league leadership will implement systems to advance the organization properly, highlight Clark appropriately, address officiating concerns regarding her treatment, and position her correctly to sustain growth. Current trends suggest the league is not expanding. Various metrics, including viewership and attendance, indicate problems affecting forward progress. Whatever opinions exist, Clark single-handedly enabled players to bring enhanced proposals to negotiating tables. She individually elevated all participants' situations.
Well, and we suspected then, and I talked about it, that there might be a fracture or a split between the players and the players union. Well, guess what? That's exactly what we got. This is getting more and more interesting, and it sounds like this is headed to chaos. Like you may have gridlock on the inside of the very same union that
Her entry into the league prompted chartered flight arrangements within 2 weeks of being selected. Yet various players, owners, and leadership, including Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, have spoken negatively about Clark. Engelbert suggested Clark's platform resulted solely from league infrastructure, failing to recognize Clark arrived with everything necessary for success. Clark actually benefited the league rather than vice versa. Clark continued discussing outstanding issues requiring resolution. 2 expansion franchises mean more roster spots than ever before. Free agency must occur, followed by the standard selection draft. Multiple tasks remain incomplete.
union that they can't get along, can't come to an agreement themselves. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're still subscribed. Check out blackwhitenetwork.com for exclusive content. This story just emerged. This is from ESPN. So the meeting took place this morning. Whether or not they're still in this meeting, I don't know. But, man, this is getting interesting.
Nevertheless, she maintained optimism about both parties reaching terms. The draft was scheduled for mid-April. The league's expansion has been remarkable. Clark recalled attending her first game as a youngster watching Minnesota during their championship period with Maya Moore against Seattle. Currently, nearly every venue sells out completely. Membership expanded to 14 teams with plans for 18 within several years. Business operations are thriving positively.
Man, this is getting interesting. There is clearly a fracture of some kind in the players' union. The WNBA and the WNBPA, the players' union, will meet Monday morning in New York. Last I checked, this is Monday. It is Monday. So I don't know if they're still in the meeting or not. For their first in-person bargaining session involving players since October. Sources close to the process told ESPN
Sustaining this momentum requires meeting each challenge. Talent quality continues improving at collegiate and professional levels. Clark expressed gratitude and hopes for an extended career ahead. Additional footage showed Clark providing analyst commentary during gameplay. When discussing Luka Doncic, Clark praised his exceptional abilities. She emphasized his scoring alongside playmaking skills. Her delivery appeared fluid and natural throughout the broadcast.
Involving players since October. Sources close to the process told ESPN a meeting many believe would be, quote, pivotal in whether a new collective bargaining agreement is reached or players decide to strike. Man, you want to talk about losing even more favor with the fans. So many fans. I look at the comments and the fans are just out on the players. Now that they know what they've been offered, people are like, nah, we're good. Sign the deal. The union sources has grown.
Whether rehearsed or completely spontaneous, her presentation seemed professional and polished. Clark analyzed Doncic's strengths beyond pure athleticism or speed. She described his ability to manipulate defenders into desired positions, controlling space effectively. He maintains defenders either trailing or beside him strategically. Clark admitted this represents an area for her own development. She tends toward evading defensive pressure rather than absorbing contact and utilizing available space. She acknowledged Doncic's production averaging triple-doubles while making it appear effortless, though recognizing the actual difficulty involved.
The union sources has grown increasingly frustrated that the league hasn't formally responded to its most recent proposal submitted around Christmas. But sources said a strong debate has emerged within the 7-member executive committee, which the NBPA body authorized in December to call a strike when necessary. According to multiple reports, one group says that now is the time to fundamentally.
Some critics focused on Clark's reference to utilizing space given by defenders. Detractors claim Clark uses her forearm to generate rather than accept space. This criticism exists regardless, though predictable commentary would emerge in response sections. Additional coverage showed the broadcast welcoming Clark for the historic 302nd meeting between teams. This marked the inaugural Sunday in February broadcast. Clark acknowledged her first attendance at Madison Square Garden for a Knicks contest. The broadcasters expressed excitement about her debut appearance and discussed the venue's atmosphere.
Time to fundamentally alter the league's revenue sharing model, and players shouldn't compromise further until they feel comfortable with the new system. Here's where it gets even more interesting, folks. Another group says that though there are still matters to be negotiated, the players have already gained significant ground and are closer to a deal and less inclined to pursue a strike.
They joked about arranging for Clark to compete on that court someday, requiring commissioner approval. Clark suggested even a preseason exhibition would.
They got themselves a little mini war inside the players' union. Either way, both groups are eager to hear directly from the owners, instead of having layers of middlemen and lawyers separating the aisles. The WNBA PA president, Nike Agumake, first Vice President Kelsey Plum, Vice President Nafisia Collier are set to join in person. Vice President Breonna Stewart said she'll participate.
The segment welcomed her officially to the network alongside other analysts. Growing up, many called the shooting game pig, but the network branded it for their purposes. House rules were established before beginning. Participants took turns attempting increasingly difficult shots. Clark executed various challenging attempts, including left-handed free throws and trick shots. The competition proceeded with both sides making and missing creative attempts. Commentary noted the extremely low probability of duplicating certain shots.
Are set to join in person. Vice President Breonna Stewart said she'll participate over video conference, an option for owners and other executive council members who cannot attend the gathering in New York. Quote, at the end of the day, we're human beings. I think conversation face-to-face goes a long way, Plum said. Going into this meeting, I'm excited for the opportunity to be able to be there in person with other players that are really invested in this, in the executive committee and stuff. And then, of course, the league making the commitment to be there. Stewart has also.
The segment included musical overlay and playful banter between participants. Shots attempted ranged from behind the back to one-legged attempts. Both sides displayed good sportsmanship throughout the friendly competition. The game concluded with congratulations exchanged after the final sequence. This represented Clark's complete NBC broadcasting debut experience. A significant contrast emerged between how Caitlin Clark and Natasha Cloud addressed the WNBA collective bargaining agreement situation during recent public appearances. Clark participated in an NBA analyst role on NBC, discussing the CBA negotiations in measured business terms.